Founder walk, founder talk, founder point of view. Afrofire Wings fam, what's up? Zeta, right here from Houston, Texas. So today I want to talk about the biggest mistake you can make as an entrepreneur that is starting a new idea, a new concept. So from other concepts that I've worked on in the past, I've noticed certain things that have kept following me, and those things are not having a clear step-by-step process of what it is that you're trying to do and doing the research. The research is so important. In the past, I would just start something just based on an idea and didn't spend enough time doing the research to find out what this idea entails. So let's start with some definitions. What is a startup? A startup is a company that is trying to find a repeatable revenue generating business model. Repeatable, and revenue is the key words there. So, or else there's no point in starting a company, right? So that's the part of the startup phase or the startup stage, as I talked yesterday, that is so critical to visionaries, to founders that have ideas, is the 5 W's. What are the 5 W's? Who is this product or service for, right? Remember, a startup is trying to find a repeatable revenue generating business model. You've got to be able to monetize, or else it's just a hobby, and that's not, unless that's your goal, that's not what you want to accomplish. So you have to know, and there's two ways to be able to create a repeatable revenue generating business model. It's through goods and services. So first, you have to know, which one are you in? Are you in the products, which is also the same as goods, or are you in the service industry? Now, there are startups and there are businesses, successful businesses, that do both. They have products and services, but they don't necessarily launch both at the same time. Most of them launch product businesses, and then, or the ones that have both will start a service business, and then we'll have products introduced down the road. That's where Afrofire is in. We are a service company, food service, right? So we serve food, right? We don't have a product yet. That's going to come down the line, which is the sauces, the seasoning, the sodas, and the snacks. Okay, so that's down the line. But at the beginning, we're going to start as a service company. So since Afrofire is a service company, then we have to look into who. Those were the 5 W's, right? I told you the first one. Who are we serving? What are we serving? Where are we serving it? When are we serving it? And why would people want whatever we're servicing? And the bonus one is, the bonus letter starts with an H, and that is, how are we servicing it, right? So the 5 W's, let's repeat it again. Who are you serving or selling your product for? Okay. What are you serving? or what is your product, and where are you serving it, when are you serving it, and why are you serving it. Okay, so each of those 5 W's have layers woven into them. So let's just start today with Afrofire as an example. Since we are a service company, let's start with who are we serving, right? So how do you find out who you're serving? So in any business, you've heard this before, you have to create a transformation. That's the key word, right? You have to give people either something that they currently are consuming, right? And then find out what they're consuming, who they are that's consuming something that is similar. So for us, it's wings, right? But what's transformative of Afrofire is what we're serving to who. So we are the world's first African flavored wings, right? So then you look at, remember, we have to generate revenue. So, and we have to develop a business that has a pretty good consumption. You don't want only, 10,000 people to be consuming whatever product or service you're currently offering, because then it's going to be very hard to get other people. You have to train them, a lot of marketing, a lot of training in order for them to get into your product or service. It doesn't mean that you won't have a successful business. It just means you have to be in that position that you can handle introducing whatever it is that your idea is and training people on what it is. For example, before computers came out, no one had a computer, right? So there was a lot of training that took place over the years that allowed companies like Microsoft, Apple, so on and so forth, Dell, IBM, for them to have they created a new market, a market that did not exist, right? So that takes a lot of training, because now people never used computers. It's a new technology. So it takes years and a lot of money, a lot of capital to be able to get that audience. So with us, Afrofire wings, well, people already consume wings. It's a universal consumption as well. So it's not just here in Houston, it's really everywhere. So chicken wings have been around since forever, but it didn't become something until the early 1960s. And the story goes there's potentially 2 different founders, okay, of who created the chicken wings. So I won't get in depth in the history of that. We're just talking high level business right now. And it's unedited, so right here at the beautiful park. Yes, sir. So with Afrofire, we know who we're after, people that consume wings. Well, then we have to look at, since we're trying to monetize this startup into a repeatable revenue generating business model, we got to look at what is the consumption amount. How many people on the planet consume wings? What is the year-to-year growth rate? Is this a shrinking market? Is this a growing market? And who are the companies that are delivering this right now, such as Wingstop, Buffalo Wild Wings, and then there's all sorts of other wing companies in cities. They may have 1 or 2 locations. There's a lot of those as well, right? So that lets you know, okay, there is a chance for us to have a repeatable business model because it's already existing. We don't have to create this business model like the guys that made computers did. They had to create a whole new model. Like Jeff Bezos, he created a whole new model because when he created Amazon, the internet really didn't even exist. So we don't have to do that, right? It's not complicated to understand chicken wings. And then you look at how many people participate in consuming chicken wings. And the way you find that out is by just researching how much does the chicken wing total addressable market is. So you're just trying to find a blanket of how many dollars are going from people's wallets into exchanging that for a 10-piece chicken wing meal. And if your total addressable market is in the billions, in the tens of billions, then that lets you know you've got a healthy consumption, and this consumption is growing. There's more people that consume wings every day. And so that gives you a check that you can create a repeatable business model. Now, how do you stand out, right? You got the giants, the Wingstops and the Buffalo Wild Wings, right? Well, it's that key word that I mentioned earlier, transformative. What is it about your company that's transformative, where people will say, you know what? That's where I'm gonna take my wallet to. That's where I'm gonna give my $10, $15, $20 and get me a 10-piece, a 6-piece, a 20-piece, and I'm gonna go there from now on. What is that unique value proposition that Afrofire has that no one else has? And thanks to my co-founder, which is also my wife, she's a culinary trained chef. So she's been in culinary her whole life. She's worked at QSRs since she was 16. And then from there, she went to work at wing places. And then from there, she went to culinary school. And then from Le Cordon Bleu, she went to work at big establishments, big corporations, such as the Marriott, such as Disney World. Then she was a manager of another restaurant here in Houston. She also sold food trucks and worked in food trucks. She's been on television cooking, on local TV shows. She's had her catering company in the past where she would cater at parties. She's cooked for many people that you know, Kevin Hart, Drake, Oprah Winfrey, those type of people in past catering gigs. And she's had her meal prep company. She's had a juice company in the past. And so she has a lot of experience. Some things worked out great, some things didn't. It's the same with every founder, right? I've had a lot of great things in my past as well. I'll talk about myself a little bit more later, maybe tomorrow, let you know a little background info on who I am. But so my co-founder, she's also from Africa, she's from Congo, she came up with this concept of African flavored wings. You know, you've got every wing company basically has their own, it's basically the same, right? The same flavors. You know, you've got buffalo sauce, you've got, you know, garlic parmesan, you've got barbecue, etc., right? but there's never been one company or even one flavor that has African fusion into it, right? So with her, I've lived in Africa, so as myself, she's lived there a lot longer than I have. She came up with that concept. And so together we came up with a name and we called it Afro Fire, right? And so that is our unique value proposition. That is what is transformative, because now all of these, I think it's somewhere around $40 billion a year that is going from people's wallets into trading it for wings. So all those $40 billion, no one has experienced African flavored wings from a culinary trained professional chef, you know? And that was our transformative offer. So now we have something that no one else has. We have something that makes us unique. We have something that makes us different. And the who, which is the people that love some chicken wings, they get to experience chicken wings in a way they've never experienced it before. African flavors. So that is what. That's the next one, right? What is our value proposition, right? First, we're both African. I'm from Ethiopia. She's from Congo. So that makes sense. She's also trained in culinary, so that makes sense. And now we've identified who we're building this company for. We've identified what is our value proposition, what is transformative of our value, what is the unique part. And next is figuring out exactly where we do this. So the location is really important as well. And for us, we're in Houston, Texas. It couldn't be a better city to launch this company because it's such a diverse city here in Houston. There's so many people here. There's so many cultures here. I think Houston is actually voted as the most diverse city in America. I think next to like New York or Chicago. So that hit a lot of our checklists. So before we even started this company, we did all of that research. It took us 2 years of on and off research as this concept came to us late 2023. Came to her first, and the vehicle, which is the wings, did not hit until later or earlier this year in 2025. So once she had that concept of wings, it was on. Excuse me. And a lot of times in my past, I would start businesses without looking at these 5 W's. I would look at businesses without identifying what is the current experience like for the consumer, and then what will the new experience with my transformative value will be. So you have to look at the initial state of whatever product or service is being consumed. What is the initial state, right? So you have to really do a lot of research and find out. Ask people that are already consuming that product or that service. Ask how they're consuming it right now. Read a lot. Watch a lot of documentaries, YouTube videos, doing a lot of market research. Because once you find out the initial state of who you're serving, you'll know exactly how to create a transformative state for your offer. And it'll be easier to communicate that if you know what your consumer is currently experiencing, right? So that is how you can stand out from everybody else, because now we don't have to compete with Buffalo Wild Wings. We don't have to compete with Wingstop. We don't have to compete with every mom and pop place in every city that sells wings, because no one sells African flavored wings. So we're in a category of one of one. We're creating a new category. It's called Afrofire. And that's why we have the holding company, and we have the first subsidiary, which is Afrofire Wings. And then after that, we'll create the sodas. That'll be another subsidiary, Afrofire Sodas, Afrofire Snacks, Afrofire, which under the snacks, there'll be multiple Afrofire chips, Afrofire chocolate. Every one of these products are already being consumed, and the consumption is only going up because we're in the food industry. It's not like people are going to stop eating, right? and it's not like some of these foods are going to go at risk to go out of style. I mean, people are going to drink sodas, people are going to snack, people need seasoning, people use sauces, they love sauces. Huge multi-billion-dollar industry. All of these industries I just mentioned with these products, all of them are multi-billions in consumption. So that's the larger vision of Afrofire, and that puts us in our own category. So we don't have to be like, well, we taste better than this, or those guys do this, but we do that. No one does what we do. You can't go to Wingstop and get some Afrofire wings, but you can go to Wingstop and get some, what is it, lemon pepper. That's what I get when I go there. And then you can go to Buffalo Wild Wings and also get lemon pepper. But, there's not much difference there. The big difference with us is our techniques of bringing African fusion, similar to how other brands brought their culture to the American palate and the global palate, such as Panda Express, such as Chipotle. There's Italian food everywhere. They've penetrated, Italian pizza, Mexican food, Tex-Mex. So that's everywhere. But when you look around, there's no African fusion. And African food is so good. It's the bold flavors. It's so delicious. I grew up on it. The techniques, the ingredients, how the ingredients are used, in what amounts, in what heat levels, all of that is Afrofire's proprietary, transformative, unique value adds. And that's really, really good, because now all we have to do is just communicate who we are, what is our transformative value, where we are. We're not, we can't ship you wings, at least not yet. That's not our first business model, but maybe down the line you can get frozen Afrofire wings. All you got to do is just heat it up and boom, okay? But at the beginning, we're going to just service. So where we are is important. When, right? So that means we're going to be serving Afrofire wings late into the night. That's another value add, right? Because our target audience, our primary target audience, is between the ages of 18 and 25. So I better get back. It looks like it's going to rain. Let me go back this way, actually. So based on that, we want to be able to service that age group, which they order at all hours of the day. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., Afrofire will be there, right? Because that's who our target is, and uh, why. Right? So we discussed the who, the what, the where, the when. Just discussed that, and why people would like us, why they would consider our offer. Well, hey, people love trying new stuff, and they already consume wings. It's like, man, I never heard of African flavored wings. What is that? What is that flavor like, right? So that curiosity is what's going to drive people to us, and also we're authentic, right? It's not like, two Chinese people making African flavored wings. It's two Africans, So that authenticity, the storytelling, our brand, the fact that we're new, those are some of and the fact that, again, we're a category 1 of 1. No one exists in this place. So that gives us such an edge that no one else has. And when you're starting your startup, you've got to consider these things, these ingredients that I just mentioned, way before you actually start your company. Because if you just start it and then you try to figure it out, it's not saying that you won't, but you want to give yourself the best chance. Because even if you just start with everything outlined, you know what your transformative value is, you know who you're serving, you've done the numbers, you see the growth rate of the market consumption of your service or product, it's still not easy, It's still not easy at all. So imagine if you don't know any of that. Imagine how much money you're going to burn thinking this is the way to go, but then it turns out it isn't. And you've got to pivot and pivot and pivot and lose money and lose time, and then you also will do things out of sequence. That's the biggest problem that I see a lot of founders and a lot of startup entrepreneurs is they start working on things they should be working on like 6-7 months later now. And the things that they should be working on now, they don't get to it till 6-7 months later in the timeline. And that really screws things up because, for example, we came up with the concept and the name Afrofire. The first thing that we did is we trademarked it. So imagine if we come up and we're telling people, before we told anybody it was trademarked. And imagine if we got ads and we create a website and we get social media handles, and all of a sudden we get a letter in the mail, a cease and desist, because we didn't do the due diligence and trademark the name, or somebody already had that name. And so now we've got to spend a bunch of dollars remarketing, reformatting, re-educating the audience. Oh, this is the new brand. We didn't know this and that and this, so we have to rename our company now. And you don't want to do things like that. You want to do things in order. I'm a Christian, and I learn a lot from the way God creates. I love the book of Genesis, and in the first, his first creation was light. Let there be light. It wasn't trees. It wasn't humans. We came last because we are dependent on the things that came before us. So that's what I mean about doing things in order, because if you're doing things that are in step 3 when you should be doing things in step 1, step 3 will never work because it doesn't have the foundation of step 1. And a lot of people rush to create their Instagram page or their social medias and spend money on websites and things like that, which is necessary. Spend money on logos, which is necessary. talking about their brand, which is necessary, but you don't even have the name of your company legally registered. So another thing that can happen is some hater can look at your idea and say, oh, that's nice. Let me see if they have this trademark. Oh, they don't. Oh, okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just trademark that name, create those websites, and then I'm gonna force them, once they realize it, to buy that off of me, right? And then that person's gonna look at what is the cost of them having to rebrand, and then I'm gonna sell them their own name that they didn't trademark for like 20% less than what it would cost them to rebrand themselves. And there are vicious people like that in the world. And so that is really, really important that things are done in order. And like I said, business is so hard. Even if you do everything in order, it's still very hard, right? So there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. It's not as much doing, and a lot of people will tell you this, oh, it's all about action, it's all about doing it. You know, these podcasts, they don't give you the real. I'm gonna give you the real blueprint, because I'm gonna document everything as we're building it. It's right at the beginning, so there's not much you've missed already. We're only 31 days in from this video, so we're documenting everything. And you can go to our other pages on Afrofire Wings. You can find us on social to even see the day one things that we've been up to. And I'm gonna create a blueprint on Afrofire Wings, and you'll see it. It's gonna be like a map, right? And it's gonna be beautiful. I'm gonna share that as I finish it. But a lot of people tell you it's all about action, and yeah, there's some truth in it, but from my point of view, it's actually all about thinking, you know? And you have to do a lot of thinking before you do a lot of doing, because you could be doing a lot, but it's all wrong. And I've been burned a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of relationships in the past where we've been doing, but we haven't been thinking about what we're doing. And how, like dominoes, how does this action affect the next action? That's really important. As visionaries, we get the vision, that's awesome, and we start working. But you can climb up a tree and find out there's no fruit on that tree. But if you thought, let me step 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet away from the tree to see the top and see if there's actually fruit there, then you wouldn't waste time climbing that tree, because you'll notice there's no fruit up that tree. So what's the point of climbing that? What's the point of going after this opportunity when this opportunity is more of an opportunity I need to go after when I'm in stage 4, not stage 0, right? So that's what I mean about the blueprint. I broke all of these steps down into stages, including stages that I haven't even entered in ever yet, including IPO. That is our exit strategy. That is how we want to build the Afrofire empire, is by giving pieces of the company, I should say selling pieces of the company to shareholders and using that money to grow the brand, right? So they all talk about just do it. Well, I'm here to tell you, just think about it before you do it. Think about what is the consequences, and I use consequences in a positive way, but it could also be negative, but in this context, I'm using it in a positive way. What is the consequences of this action? What is the ripple effect, right? So what happens down the road? If I do this opportunity, what does this mean here for where I am now, right? So that's why I want to create that map, a blueprint for all my startup entrepreneurs, all my founders, and you'll be able to follow our journey on that blueprint, on that map, and it'll be interactive. So as we go to the next stage, the next place, you'll be able to see the map move, right? And then you can use that blueprint for your business, because it applies this information I'm giving right here in my founder's walk, founder's POV, is information that you can apply to really any industry. So that's the message I have for today. I don't think about these messages. I don't have them pre-written or pre-thought of, so it just comes to me as it comes. And so, yeah, I think that's all I want to say for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope some of this information was of some value. And tune in tomorrow. I'm going to do these every day. I think it's going to be helpful for me as well. And hopefully it's helpful for y'all. Peace. And remember, be bold, or go hungry.